Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Lori Tucker. Dawn is off this week and we have a lot to get to today, but we begin with the race for the White House. The Republican convention obviously has come and gone. Now it's the Democratic Party's turn. The DNC gets underway on Monday. Knoxville Mayor Indya Kincannon will be there. She's one of the delegates. After President Biden dropped out of the White House race, Mayor Kincannon said that she was proud to endorse Kamala Harris for president. In fact, the Tennessee Democratic Party has said that its entire delegation to the 2024 DNC had voted to support Harris. Joining us today to talk about all of this are WATE political pundits. We have Courtney Piper, Michael Covington. Good to see you all. And we're bringing in our legal analyst, Greg Isaacs, in for Craig Griffith. We have two subs in today, but we're looking forward to it. We appreciate all of you coming in. Always good to see you as well. All right, let's hop right into it, shall we? Let's talk about the DNC and the level of excitement we're hearing, and especially when it comes to the new support that wouldn't have been there just a short time ago.
That's right. I'm really excited for the Democratic National Convention to happen. There has been so much energy around Kamala Harris and her run for the White House, where 4 weeks ago I was a little concerned. I was a little worried. What is going to happen? How are we going to get through this? And it seems every week that goes by, we build up more and more excitement, and that excitement is translating to moving some swing states. So our best hope for this convention is that we maintain that momentum, we maintain that high, and we get to know Kamala Harris even more.
And would you all agree that having this in Chicago, which is known for having the most conventions, and where it is in the Midwest and the swing states nearby, this is an important time?
It's a really important time. There has been a lot of movement, not only in this race for the White House on the Democratic side, but also on the Republican side. The presidential nominee for the Republicans seems to be getting a little bit unhinged. Every time the Democrats amass more and more momentum and attention, he just sort of goes off on tirades, and it draws this very, very clear distinguishing factor between Democrats and Republicans, which is you've got a group of candidates here with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz that represent change, a direction for America, freedom. Let's talk about joyful things, and they're funny. And then you've got the Republicans over here that every opportunity Donald Trump has to talk about somebody's crowd size, he takes it. He name calls. They're hateful, spiteful people. So it's drawing this very clear comparison, and I think the convention will draw an even sharper contrast.
Michael, what do you think about that? How do you feel the former president is handling this, speaking about Kamala Harris so often?
Well, I think he's doing a good thing. We need to hear more about Vice President Harris, because she's not telling us a lot about her policies or what she intends to do, or answer the question of why she has the inclination that she can solve problems when she gets elected that she hasn't been able to solve with President Biden in the 3 years that over 3 years she's been in office. I'm really excited about the Democratic ticket. I'm excited about Tim Walz. I'm excited about people talking about his military record. I'm happy to hear people talk about how Kamala Harris failed on the border, but now suddenly succeeded on the border. So I'm excited about everything that's happening. I'm excited about what Donald Trump is saying. I'm excited about what Kamala Harris is doing. And I especially like those memes that show the crowd size when she's getting off of a plane. All these people, all these heads, but you look in the reflection on the plane and there are no people there.
Oh, Michael,
but there's video. There's video that has proven that the crowds were there.
Well, look,
Michael,
Kamala is not generating the excitement in any of the corridors where Joe Biden would have expected to get support to win. And yes, you may say that that's a meme, or you may say that that's false, but no, it looks a lot like there really weren't people there when they got off the plane, and it looked like they were just waving at no one.
Those conspiracy theories have proven to be false.
No.
Yes, they have.
There were news cameras there that caught all the people
But it's good to see it, but you haven't seen any of the footage of the verification that those people were there.
I have. The Washington Post did a whole spread on it. The Associated Press, they checked social media, eyewitness testimony.
Beautiful AI.
Michael, that is reckless.
Beautiful
That's
AI.
rather reckless.
Greg, weigh in on this, please. Our legal analyst,
Please,
what say
yes.
you?
Well, I'm excited, but I'm excited and now I'm surprised. It seems like the Republicans are mired in the concept that whoever has the biggest crowd wins the election. It's remarkable. I think the reputable news outlets have shown those crowds are real. Stadiums are packed. That's a non-issue. But what's significant to me, one, when you see a convention, whether it's the RNC, DNC, you're expecting to see a bounce in the polls. Kamala and Walz have already experienced, what is a surprising, unanticipated surge in the polls in the swing states. So it'll be interesting to see whether this convention can kind of catapult or propel that momentum. The other thing that I think is going to be interesting, can the Democratic Party answer the questions about a lack of policy? Michael has some good points. How are you going to solve the problems such as immigration you couldn't solve a month ago as vice president? So the platform is going to be significant. And the other thing, who is the supporting cast? Other than the people like Gavin Newsom, who are people that can capture the national attention when this convention takes place? So it's going to be interesting to see who emerges as the future leaders of the Democratic Party.
Courtney, I'd like for you to weigh in on the Harris immigration issue.
Sure. This is an easy one for me. So, yes, while we can all acknowledge that there is a crisis at our border, what we do know is that there was a historic bipartisan deal in Congress to address the root causes of immigration, which is we do not have a comprehensive immigration policy. That deal was put together, that deal was ready to move forward, and Donald Trump told his members of Congress and in the Senate, do not move forward on immigration, do not pass any bills, I want to run on it, and that tanked the entire deal.
Michael?
And so when the Democratic Party didn't get what they wanted in terms of that legislation, they decided to just open the border and allow every single dreg of society from around the world. Sure it is.
That's not true.
They've come in and they're being supported by our tax dollars. And oh, by the way, as a footnote to our previous point, I suppose that there were no homeless people that were bussed into that rally in Georgia for Kamala Harris as well. I mean,
Michael, you're just pouring conspiracy theory on top of conspiracy theory on top of conspiracy theory.
But if it's true, it's just true.
Conspiracy theories are generally not true.
Okay. Well, we can debate that another time, but we can get back to policy, and the policy is an issue of the border having been a failure of the Biden administration, and there's just no getting around that. Regardless of that legislation that Courtney keeps referring to, the bottom line is the policy that Joe Biden put in place, regardless of the passing or not passing of that law, Biden's policy failed. And Kamala Harris was, I won't call her a czar, I would just say that was her job responsibility. She failed, and she should have been fired.
If the Republican Party has taught us anything over these last 2 or 3 years, when Donald Trump says go or no go to something, his soldiers fall in line.
And he is generally
right. So you cannot blame the Biden administration. You cannot blame Kamala Harris. When Donald Trump says go or no go, his soldiers fall in line, and there is no path forward.
And it's time for me to say stop. We have to go to break. Is that okay? All right. Still to come on Tennessee This Week. Everyone stay with us. We're going to get to the Knox County School Board being sued by a school board member. We're going to talk about that next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. Glad you're with us. A Knox County School Board member, as we mentioned a second ago, is suing the school board, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent over a lack of transparency. This as she looks into why some school system employees cannot access their salary information. The lawsuit was brought by Jennifer Owen just last month. It focuses on requests she made for Knox County Schools employee salary information and how it has yet to be provided. The suit says that more than 100 school employees reached out to her about their pay following that April school board decision to adopt a new salary scale and up the pay. Owen says she wanted to get her hands on school system records to see if these complaints had any merit. However, the lawsuit says most recently Assistant Superintendent Jennifer Himmelgarn denied the request, saying those records were, quote, too difficult to supply. Owen is asking the court to compel Knox County Schools to turn over the requested information in compliance with the Open Records Act and for Knox County Schools to undergo an audit of HR procedures. So let's discuss this, everyone. Who wants to start the discussion on what this is all about and whether this is an indication of a problem within the culture of Knox County Schools?
Well, let's talk about, regardless of whether there's a problem or a culture, what a public records lawsuit is.
A good place to start.
Time and time again, we see government not being responsible or adhering to the Tennessee Public Records Act. When you're the government, you don't have the luxury of saying it's too hard, it's too cumbersome. You have to comply. So it's going to be interesting. The statute requires compliance within 10 days. If not, the case goes forward. Then there can be attorney's fees. So really, this, to me, the most interesting thing is someone that is in charge of our records, Knox County school records, saying too much work, no.
And is that a valid excuse?
It is not a valid excuse. In fact, I can speak to the culture issue. I was on a Knox County School Special Education Task Force, and our report out to the school board outlined a culture of resistance. So unfortunately, what a school board member is experiencing is what special education families experience almost on a weekly basis. You ask for something and you do not receive it. In the case of Jennifer Owen, who is a school board member, she's just asking for raw data so that she can figure out what the issue is here. And the Knox County school system is saying, well, let us prepare it in a report and a fancy PowerPoint, and then we'll and she's saying, no, just give me the raw data. So clearly they have it if they're able to prepare a report or a fancy PowerPoint. All she's asking for is the underlying information they are using to create those reports. So again, to me, this does point to a culture issue within Knox County schools, and it's something that I would label as a culture of resistance, that you have to initiate a legal process to compel the school system to do something rather than just asking for something.
And does it really matter why you want to see it? It's your right to see it if you ask for it.
Completely irrelevant. It's a public record. Government has to comply when John Q. Public wants to look at the records, period.
All right. How do you think this is going to proceed?
I think they're going to get to see the records, and I think Courtney's right. I think the undercurrent here is a culture of resistance. And, you know, it's interesting when you see caretakers, people that work for the government, that somehow feel that they have this paternalistic right to delve out records, protect records, say I'm going to, provide some, not others. So, one of the most powerful things that you have as a citizen, and you want to answer questions and you want to ensure government accountability, is file a Public Records Act request or lawsuit. But to me, the thing is, it's really a waste of time and resources when you have a school board member suing to get records that they need to make informed decisions.
Well, and that could open up a can of worms. People are saying, well, why wouldn't you want them to look at these?
Correct.
Lori, I had the opportunity to speak with Law Director David Book earlier this week, and I asked him specifically about this complaint. And he indicated, obviously, as Greg Isaacs has indicated, it's a public record. The lawsuit is a public record. The two things I took from the discussion were this. Ms. Owen is not represented by an attorney, so she filed that complaint on her own, and a citizen is allowed to do that. The second point, and there needs to be some clarification of this, but the second point is that the records that she has requested were provided to her, but they were not provided to her in a format that she desired. And I would liken it to that little disc that candidates get when they go to the Election Commission. It has all of the voter records that they need to formulate their mailing lists. The problem is that disc, if you put it in your laptop or you put it in your PC, it will just come back as gobbledygook unless you know how to format the data. And so this may just be a matter of communication and an unwillingness to take the time to format the information the way the school board member wants. And that to me just seems like it's a matter of resistance. They should certainly be able to accommodate her. And I don't think, as Greg said, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Her term ends at the end of the month. So where does it go?
Well, that doesn't mean she still doesn't want to know.
Well, and she could get that information. I'm certain the same people that can formulate that data in a format that people can read and use, those individuals are out there. They're out there in county government. They're available to Ms. Owens. She just needs to identify them and ask.
And I think she has asked. She has asked several times. The buzzword for me back from the school system is, well, it's just too difficult. And like Greg said, well, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant, whether it's too difficult or easy to get you. This is public information. If somebody requests it, it should be provided.
But we are talking about a lot of people and an impact on the school system.
Correct. And you know, that's the thing. These school teachers are public servants, and there have been a lot of questions about, with this new compensation system, does it work for everybody? Was everybody fairly adjusted? And the issues and the blowback that we're hearing from some teachers is no, it wasn't. There are some problems that I want remedied. So school board members do have a responsibility to make sure that new system was applied fairly among everybody and nobody falls through the cracks.
And we were told it was applying to everybody, from teachers on down to the other supportive staff.
Correct.
All right. Anything you'd like to add?
It's another case where a chancellor is saying, not again. I have to sit here and hear this. Give them the records.
All right, we'll keep following this. And still to come on Tennessee This Week, our panel of pundits weighs in on the money that's trading hands in the school voucher fight. There's more to talk about. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. New Associated Press reporting from this week says that millions of dollars are being spent in the fight over school vouchers. We've been talking about that a lot lately. Most recently, National Pro-Voucher Advocates declared victory after spending more than $4.5 million in Tennessee's primary election. That money apparently going toward defending and electing legislative candidates who claim they will support school choice proposals in 2025. That is when state lawmakers are slated to return to the Capitol to enact policy, and the governor has said he is bringing this back. We again turn to our panel of pundits, so let's talk about this money that is changing hands. This seems to be really blowing up right now.
You know, I think Tennessee, it's a microcosm of what's happening nationally with super PACs, other PACs that have a political agenda that seek to come in and in a very heavy-handed economic way influence an election. You know, that's a decision for Tennesseans to make. And, you know, vouchers is a very difficult issue for a lot of people to get their arms around. Should money be allocated to allow someone to have the choice to go to a school of their choice? Do you take that money away from public education? And, you know, why in the I guess now that Tim Walz can say it, I guess it's proper to say,
here we go.
Why in the hell is someone outside our state trying to manipulate an election and tell us what to do? And the thing that's bothering me most, if you don't agree with them, they paint you in a light like the Frank Nicely election that is fair, unfair, and misleading. So if you're not going to agree with me, we're going to come in here with guns a-blazing, money for our agenda, and we don't care if you're right of Reagan. We're going to paint you as a liberal. We're going to attack you, and it is heavy-handed, and I think it takes away really from the debate on whether vouchers are good for the students of Tennessee.
Correct, and as you all had last week in my story, so many educators I talked with said $7,000 is not enough money for the families I serve who would need and want to have a private school experience. Where are they going to get the extras? So we could debate that as well, but then the response to it, if so many people say this wouldn't work, why do so many in office think it's a good idea or say it's a good idea?
Well, Lori, at this point, if the governor brings a voucher bill back again, it will be the third time. What that shows me is that this has become very personal for the governor. He's become very obsessed over this.
He's changed the name.
He has changed
voucher,
the name.
Now choice.
And come hell or high water, he is going to get this voucher proposal through. So it appears to me that at our highest levels of state government, some folks have blinders on because they just can't see past a loss. They cannot see past this was a key part of my legacy and this is going to pass, no matter what. That is a very dangerous position for all Tennesseans to be in, because like you said, we've lost sight of the discussion of, is this going to help students? Because by and large, all the data shows that children who receive vouchers do not outperform children in the public school system or children who do not receive vouchers. So what are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to play to a governor's ego and a political power system's ego, or are we trying to do what is best for children?
I think the only thing I could find in my research was that in some areas it seemed to help the graduation rate, but not grades and performance and all the other academics. What do you think about this?
Well, for starters, Republicans believe in self-responsibility. And so if $7,100 is the amount that would be available through the voucher bill once it's passed, and let's just say the tuition is $14,000 and maybe a little bit more. It is the personal responsibility and the business of the parents who have children that they want to utilize that voucher. So it's nobody's business as to where that money comes from, how they raise it, what extra jobs they have to take. That's not the issue at all. In 2026, if it was $4.5 million that they spent this time around, it'll be $9 million the next time. And when you talk to folks within communities that were impacted, and District 15 was one of those, in speaking to Joe Armstrong, who owns WJBE, he said not a dime of that money flowed through any of the minority newspapers that covered the area. Not a dime of that money went to the radio stations. And the candidate that they backed had no real justification to run against the incumbent, Sam McKenzie. Daisha Lundy had no reason to run other than she was encouraged by the money that she received from these shady PACs.
See, that's the issue. It's ideology-based, whether it's Christian nationalism, whether it's getting away from certain areas versus academic integrity. And it's really interesting if the voucher system, I mean, if you look at it from a micro perspective, maybe a particular student may do better in a different environment in a private school, but
and
the
curriculum may be different, the accreditation may be,
but the macro view is it good for education throughout the Tennessee? When I was on the Higher Education Commission and we enacted the Hope Scholarship, pains were taken to make sure it was good for all of Tennessee when you allocated those scholarships and the money. But here's the reality. In scratching my head, and being a board chair for a private school here, being on the Higher Education Commission, I don't know where you're going to go with your $7,100 voucher. So that to me is the biggest mystery as we're defeating good candidates like Sam McKenzie. $7,100 is bare, that you can't go to daycare.
There's no private
how
school
are we going to go to
in our
school?
Area that is as low as 7,000. No. The lowest I could find is 8. But that's a Christian school that's very small.
But I don't think the voucher program is designed to pay all of the tuition. I think it is designed to give a parent an opportunity to decide if they can pay the difference and get the education they think their child deserves.
Well, if half of the 20,000 kids that this would go to will be considered under poverty level, at or under poverty level, how are they going to make up that difference?
Well, now, the governor should be able to answer that question, and someone should pose that question to him, and he should have a good answer for it.
Well, the answer is because most of the people who would use a voucher system would already have their children in private schools. And so, again, what problem are we trying to solve for? How are we trying to make students' lives better? And is this particular proposal doing it?
Well, let me tell you, when Tennessee enacted the Hope Scholarship, being on the Higher Education Commission, one of the UT professors, you know what this has done? Basically, with this extra money, kids are now driving BMWs to school with the extra money because parents don't have to pay the tuition. So parents that can afford private schools, I think, are affording private schools. But what concerns me is the money coming out of public education?
We're going to have to leave it at that. The time has flown by. Thank you so much for being with us. That is our time. Thank you for being with us for Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Nexstar Broadcasting.